I'm Dave Wurzel, and you're watching Bookshelf. And on Bookshelf, we recommend a variety of books in a variety of categories. With me today is my co-host, Matt Miakowski, Head of Public Services at Palos Heights Library. Matt, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me back.
Thank you for putting together. We're going to take a look at books that are coming out in August of 2023. And Matt put together quite a list for us, and we're going to give you a preview of some of those. Before we get to the August releases, I like to sneak in a book. So I'm going to have to, this is a book that actually came out in October of 2022, Running by Black by Alison Désir. I'm going to give you a line pulled from the actual book because I think it kind of captures what she's dealing with here. Runners know that running brings us to ourselves, but for black people, the simple act of running has never been so simple. It is a declaration of the right to move through the world. If running is claiming public space, why then does it feel like a negotiation? So if you want to kind of get in her skin, you know, or the skin of a black person, what is it like to be a runner? And in this case, she's talking about distance running, marathon running. The book opens up, it's kind of a rough point in her life. Running saved Alison Désir's life. She was at rock bottom, searching for meaning and structure, and then she started training for marathon running, finding that it vastly improved both her physical and mental health. Yet, as she became involved in the community and learned its history, she realized that the sport was largely built with white people in mind. Désir argues that, as a litmus test for an inclusive society, the fitness industry has the opportunity to lead the charge, fulfilling its promise of empowerment. I've read this book, you know, recently, maybe a month or so ago, and it's good and it's interesting, and it'll give you a perspective on one that I don't know that I would have even completely thought about or was aware of. You know, running was running, but it's not the same for everybody, especially maybe based on your skin color and where you live, you know.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's Running by Black by Alison Désir, in case you missed it. All right, now we're going to jump to the August releases, and we're going to start off with a good one. I think this one's going to be very popular.
For sure.
This is a murder suspense thriller, but I had to tag this in there. Will Trent is back. Those of you who've seen the TV show, you know that character. Matt, what have you got for us?
After That Night by Karen Slaughter, coming out in late August. This one, Will Trent, he's back, along with Sarah Linton, in an electrifying thriller featuring GBI investigator Will Trent and medical examiner Sarah Linton. This is coming from, of course, the New York Times bestselling author Karen Slaughter. And 15 years ago, Sarah Linton's life changed forever when a celebratory night out ended in a violent attack that tore her world apart. Since then, she's remade her life. A successful doctor, engaged to a man she loves, she has finally managed to leave the past behind her. Until one evening, on call in the ER, everything changes. Sarah battles to save a broken young woman who's been brutally attacked. But as the investigation progresses, led by GBI Special Agent Will Trent, it becomes clear that Danny Cooper's assault is uncannily linked to Sarah's. So
there's a historical context to this and yet a crime, and these are fast, again, entertaining, high interest. Okay, so After That Night by Karen Slaughter. Next category, another big name author here, a coming of age type novel, which I don't know if that's a complete good descriptor for this, but this is Tom Lake by Ann Patchett. It's described by the critics, in this beautiful and moving novel about family, love, and growing up, Ann Patchett once again proves why she's one of America's best writers. The book Tom Lake is described as a meditation on youthful love, married love, and the lives parents have led before their children were born. Both hopeful and elegiac, it explores what it means to be happy even when the world is falling apart. The result is a rich and luminous story told with profound intelligence and emotional subtlety that demonstrates once again why she, Ann Patchett, is one of the most revered and acclaimed literary talents working today. You know, even the presidents, I know you're a father, you know, and I'm a father, you know, married for years. And yet I can remember that life pre-children,
Yep.
even though it seems like ages ago. And you know, the thought of revisiting that point in your life and you know, taking a look through this story sounds like an interesting premise.
it does.
All right, next category is Love, Family, Friendships, Secrets. What have you got, man?
It's The Breakaway by Jennifer Weiner, also coming out in late August. This one has 34-year-old Abby Stern. She's made it to a happy place. She's got good friends, she's got her bike and her bike club in Philadelphia. She's at peace with her plus-size body, yet she can't escape the feeling that something isn't right, or the memories of one mind-blowing night spent with a man named Sebastian 2 years ago. So when Abby gets a last-minute call to lead a group bike trip from New York City to Niagara Falls, she's happy to have time away from Mark and a chance to make up her mind. But on the first day, Abby is shocked when she sees a familiar face in the tour group. You guessed it, Sebastian.
Sebastian, and I'm sure there's a love element here.
Of
right?
course.
Of course.
Yep.
All right, so that is The Breakaway by Jennifer Weiner. The next category is suspense thriller, and these are two of my personal favorite authors, Douglas Preston and Lincoln Child. This book is Dead Mountain. This is the fourth book in a series featuring Nora Kelly, who's an archaeologist, and FBI agent Corey Swanson, who appear in earlier Douglas Preston and Lincoln Child books. And then, like their other books, this is set in New Mexico. Set now, but it jumps back to 2008 when 9 mountaineers failed to return from a winter backpacking trip in New Mexico mountains. At their final campsite, searchers found a bizarre scene, though. Something had appeared at the door of their tent, so terrifying that it impelled them to slash their way out and flee barefoot to certain death in a blizzard. Despite a diligent search, only 6 bodies were found, 2 violently crushed and inexplicably missing their eyes. The case, given the code name Dead Mountain by the FBI, was never solved. Now, jump to the present. 2 more bodies from the lost expedition are unexpectedly discovered in a cave, one a grisly suicide. Young FBI agent Corey Swanson teams up with archaeologist Nora Kelly to investigate what really happened on that fateful trip 15 years ago, and to find the 9th victim. But their search awakens a long slumbering evil, which pursues Corey and Nora with a vengeance, determined to prevent them from finding the final missing corpse. I recommend these books. I'd recommend all 4. They're fast reads, entertaining. They all begin with a historical context. This one is recent. Some of them go, there's one that the premise is back to the Donner Party, one to an FBI, a UFO thing. So you want to check out Douglas Preston, Lincoln Child, and look for the Nora Kelly, Corey Swanson books.
Very popular.
Yeah, very good. Very fast, entertaining reads. All right, the next one, this book I think is more complex than we can give it true credit, but we're going to take a run at it. This one falls into our World War I historical fiction category.
It does, and World War I historical fiction kind of becoming increasingly popular, but so yeah, if you need a break from World War II historical fiction, you can check this out. It's Canary Girls by Jennifer Chiaverini, and it's described as Rosie the Riveter meets A League of Their Own. From New York Times bestselling novelist Jennifer Chiaverini. It's a lively and illuminating novel about the munitionettes who built bombs in Britain's arsenals during World War I, risking their lives for the war effort and discovering camaraderie and courage on the soccer pitch, or football pitch, I guess, as they'd say. Early in the Great War.
That's actually the team name, right? The Canaries? I think that's where the word came from.
I believe so, yes. Men left Britain's factories in droves to enlist in the army. Struggling to keep up production, arsenals hired women to build the weapons the military urgently needed. Be the girl behind the man behind the gun, the recruitment posters beckoned. Thousands of women, cooks, maids, shopgirls, and housewives, answered their nation's call. These munitionettes worked grueling shifts, often 7 days a week, handling TNT and other explosives with little protective gear. As the war grinds on and tragedy takes its toll, the Canary Girls persist despite the dangers, proud to serve, determined to outlive the war and rejoice in victory and peace.
It sounds interesting. The rest of the review would say that it focuses on a few specific characters who are Canary Girls, or the way they cross paths. And so it's maybe more personal than this kind of almost presents as a type of history. Sounds really fascinating, though, really interesting. Next category is a murder suspense thriller, and this is None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell. I love the word choice here from a critic, described as a scintillating new psychological thriller about a woman who finds herself the subject of her own popular true crime podcast. And I feel like this is almost a subgenre of crime thrillers now, the podcast angle, right? Celebrating her 45th birthday at her local pub, popular podcaster Alex Summer crosses paths with an unassuming woman called Josie Fair. Josie, it turns out, is also celebrating her 45th birthday. They are, in fact, birthday twins. A few days later, Alex and Josie bump into each other again, this time outside Alex's children's school. Josie has been listening to Alex's podcast and thinks she might be an interesting subject for her series. Should be all kinds of red flags here, right? She tells Alex, on the cusp of great changes in her life. But as quickly as she arrived, Josie disappears. Only then does Alex discover that Josie has left a terrible and terrifying legacy in her wake, and now Alex has become the subject of her own true crime podcast, with her life and her family, her life and her family's lives under mortal threat. Begs the question, who was or who is Josie Fair, and what has she done? All right, so that's None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell. And let's see, we have a couple more books here. Next category is psychological and suspense thriller. Matt?
Yes, this is from Alice Feeney. It's called Good Bad Girl, and it is described, sometimes bad things happen to good people, so good people have to do bad things. Our queen of twists, best-selling author of Daisy Parker and Rock, Paper, Scissors, Alice Feeney returns with another thrilling mystery filled with drama and her trademark surprises. 20 years after a baby is stolen from a stroller, a woman is murdered in a care home. The two crimes are somehow linked, and a good bad girl may be the key to discovering the truth. In the style of Daisy Parker and Rock, Paper, Scissors, Good Bad Girl is a thriller in which nobody can be trusted, and the twists come fast and furious.
Yeah. If you've read any of her books, that last line is very accurate descriptor. I haven't read Rock, Paper, Scissors. Maybe I should. I've read Daisy Darker.
Yeah.
Fast, entertaining read. Yes, it has those twists in it. Yeah, who can you trust in that? It's all there. So it sounds like she's got a distinct style that works very well for her. All right, one more book in the August release group, and that is in the suspense thriller In the Wilderness, and this is North of Nowhere by Alison Brennan, described by critics as an unputdownable race to the dramatic finish. After 5 years in hiding from their murderous father, the day Kristen and Ryan McIntyre have been dreading has arrived. Boyd McIntyre, head of a Los Angeles crime family, has at last tracked his kids down to a small Montana town and is minutes away from kidnapping them. They barely escape in a small plane, but gunfire hits the fuel line. The pilot, a man who's been raising them on his own, manages to crash land in the middle of the Montana wilderness. But there is greater threat to Kristen and Ryan out there, more volatile than the incoming blizzard, more dangerous than the family they ran from or the natural predators they could encounter. Who finds them first could determine if they live or die. So again, another suspense thriller, but not in the city now, not in the past. This is now, but in the wilderness, in a Montana wilderness. So another good summer read to take a look at. And then we do have some of the usual big name authors you're probably very familiar with. James Patterson, who I almost feel like he's once a month author.
Once, sometimes twice a month.
This one is Lion and the Lamb, another big name you're very familiar with. Danielle Steele, her romance, she's got Happiness coming out. James Rollins, another big name, he has Tides of Fire coming out in August, and Alice Hoffman, The Invisible Hour. So there's kind of a preview of several books coming out in August, a lot of good reading as we head into the end part of summer. So Matt, thank you for joining us today. A lot of good books. Thank you for putting the list together.
My pleasure.
I'm Dave Wurzel, and you've been watching Bookshelf, and with me, my co-host Matt Makowski, giving you a preview of August releases for 2023. Thank you for watching, and good reading.